All right, folks. BAFTA just wrapped up here a couple minutes ago. They're actually still presenting their BAFTA Fellowship Award or whatever to Ridley Scott. But in the meantime, here, the big headline coming out of this: Three Billboards strikes back with five big wins today here at BAFTA. Wins for Best Film, Best Actress, Best Supporting Actor, Original Screenplay, and to me, the biggest shock of them all was Best British Film. Wow. Okay, so we'll go ahead. We'll run down the list here of the winners, and we'll talk about maybe what it means going forward here. Because, as we all know, Academy Awards voting begins on Tuesday. So yeah, the winners here tonight could very much impact how they're going to vote. And at the same time, there have been a lot of overlapping this year with some categories, including the acting categories, director, so on and so forth. So let's get going here. Best film, of course, as I just mentioned, went to Three Billboards. Now, when you look at the pack here of the top award from all the major contenders here, Three Billboards has won more than any other film this year. Shape of Water sure has won PGA and DGA, but Three Billboards and Critics' Choice as well for Shape of Water. And Three Billboards has won the Globe, it's won SAG, and now it's won BAFTA. There was one more I was thinking of. Never mind, they're tied. Sorry, there was one more I thought I was missing, but no, that's 3 and 3 for Three Billboards and Shape of Water for the big wins. WGA was the first win for Get Out this year in kind of the top category there. Call Me by Your Name also takes that one for Adapted from WGA. Lady Bird has one big win with the comedy musical Globe win. So yeah, there's no unlike last year, there's not one film that's kind of sweeping everything, and then you get your outliers here and there. But in the meantime here, yeah, Three Billboards, though, it's got a lot going for it right now. I mean, not only the win here today and the SAG win, it won 3 out of its 4 nominations at SAG. That's pretty big there. And, of course, winning, 4 out of its 6 Globe nominations, and here it won 5 out of its 9. So, not too shabby, not too shabby. One thing that's kind of happening now, though, it's kind of just developing here, actually, over the past few days, is now we're seeing after the school shooting in Florida, and that's how many school shootings too many now? I mean, pretty much every school shooting in history is one school shooting too many. But now we're seeing that people are adapting the Three Billboards idea that's presented in the film, and using that as an angle to address gun control to all the top heads in Washington and all the governors, senators, anybody you can think of who could definitely make a big impact there. Now, and not to take that into a profitable way for any award show or anything, but that's nothing but good press for Three Billboards. And again, I don't want to make this like a joyful thing out of a tragedy, because it's definitely a tragedy what happened in Florida. But we're seeing this, and I'm seeing because I was watching the Deadline had their live updates, and they were kind of commenting on all the award stuff going on. They mentioned that, again, it was kind of a Time's Up theme at BAFTA this year, a lot of black dresses to accommodate that. So, and as we've seen this year, Three Billboards is really the one for Time's Up and for Me Too to be kind of the big film to get on board with, and to kind of support that kind of goes with that rally there. So to see that one win here tonight, plus the Globe, plus the SAG, it is up for 7 Oscars, not including director, not including cinematography, amongst a few others that it's been nominated here and there for through the season. But definitely, if that angle continues, where we're seeing that Three Billboards continues to be something that's top of mind, and certainly is speaking to where we are right now in America and where we are right now in our world too, because it's not just here in the States, but also over in England that we had kind of that same mentality of the billboards being used for gun control over there as well. That's pretty good press for the movie, despite the initial backlash, which, as I've mentioned here in the past, maybe week or so has started, week and a half, 2 weeks, whatever, has started to kind of backtrack a little bit. I mean, it's not 100% gone, but it's definitely not as loud right now as everything else is that's supporting the movie. and its candidacy right now. So yeah, after a big show here at BAFTA, maybe that'll help that movie out. At the same time, though, Shape of Water is also a big player here today with wins in directing, score, and production design. And Guillermo del Toro also won director here tonight. And yeah, I mean, if there was any doubt, this solidifies it. If Chris Nolan can't win over here, then he's got zero chance at the Oscars. And yeah, this means Guillermo will he'll pick up for director for sure at the Oscars. He's also a producer on Shape of Water, so if that ends up winning Best Picture, which is still a possibility. I mean, it's definitely something to consider still. That would make him twice a winner there. I don't think he'll win screenplay. He didn't win here at BAFTA. He didn't win at the WGA. He didn't win at the Globes. He hasn't won at Critics' Choice or any of the other. And actually, I looked through. I don't think any critics groups gave it screenplay either for Shape of Water. So, I mean, I'm glad it's nominated. I think it's a great script and everything. But now, after the plagiarism claims from a few weeks ago, again, that's something that's maybe not as loud as some of the other criticisms for like Three Billboards or a couple other ones there. It's still, I think, a worthy addition for that category. All right, moving on to best. We'll go through the acting races now. Actor in a leading role was Gary Oldman. Yep, that one's already done. Actress in a leading role, Frances McDormand. That one's done. Supporting actor went to Sam Rockwell. That one's done. Supporting actress, Allison Janney. That one definitely is done now. Definitely, and I mentioned it in my last video there. Leslie Manville, I think, had a decent shot here. I mean, not a great shot, not 50-50, but definitely was had an argument there. And then when Laurie Manville, there you go, Laurie Metcalf also for Lady Bird. But as I said, Lady Bird didn't really have a ton of support here from BAFTA. Screenplay categories, we already mentioned original went to Martin McDonagh for Three Billboards. This is the first time, actually, that we've seen both Three Billboards and Get Out in the same category where Three Billboards has won. Get Out won in the original screenplay category at the Critics' Choice. Three Billboards was not eligible for WGA, and Get Out was able to beat all the other nominees there, including Shape of Water, including Lady Bird, including I, Tonya, and The Big Sick. These same five are also at the Oscars, except swap out I, Tonya for not Call Me by Your Name, sorry, for The Big Sick. Adapted screenplay, Call Me by Your Name. That's what I was saying that for. That one won over here, and that's no surprise. That's going to win at the Oscars, too. It's picked up everything it can. Cinematography went to Roger Deakins for Blade Runner. That one's done. I mean, finally we can see Roger Deakins win an Oscar, for crying out loud. About time. We already mentioned Outstanding British Film. They had 6 nominees here. They went with Three Billboards over Darkest Hour and over Paddington 2 and a few of the other contenders there. Now, I looked through, because I kind of mentioned this last time, and I didn't do the full research on it, but now I've gone back as far as I can, as far as Wikipedia goes at least, and I've looked at it, and Outstanding British Film and Best Film overall, when they've agreed, only twice has that film not gone on to win Best Picture at the Oscars. Those are Room at the Top in 58 and Richard III in 55. And that's 60 years. So that's quite a streak to break. That's probably one of the longest running streaks actually in awards history, if you look at it. Probably other than, like something like Grand Hotel, the only film to only be nominated for Best Picture and win. Yeah, that streak has, I don't know if that streak will ever be broken ever. That might just be the one time only kind of deal. But yeah, so the last one to do it was King's Speech, and that one did very well at the Oscars, even with Social Network being a very, very competitive contender there. We also have to remember, too, that year Social Network won Best Director over here at BAFTA for David Fincher. But Tom Hooper was able to prevail at the Oscars. Let's see. Before that, you have to go back to A Man for All Seasons, I should say. What else did I see there? Bridge on the River Kwai. I think Dr. Strangelove, actually. Hold on. That might be... Sorry, that was the last one. Sorry, I forgot I had seen that one. I'm making my notes here. Yeah, so Dr. Strangelove in, what would that be, 64 or was it 65 when it was eligible over here at BAFTA? One of those two. Okay, so it's still over 50 years. That's still a pretty long streak, because we've seen, like, the editing rule at the Oscars, that only was held up for 34 years, and that one was able to be broken. The director thing, we've seen it with Ben Affleck, we've seen it with Driving Miss Daisy, and a few others there. So so yeah, that's definitely something to consider there. That it's very rare for a film to win both Outstanding British Film and Best Film overall, and not win the Academy Award for Best Picture. It's been a long time since that's happened. And the most recent example was a case where it was a competitive year, but and sure there was maybe a little more momentum by the end for King's Speech, but at the same time that was definitely a good example there. We already mentioned original score went to Shape of Water. Yeah, Alexander Desplat has the Oscar in the bag. Best sound went to Dunkirk. I think that will win both the sound categories at the Oscars. And yeah, I think that's going to be about it for that one. Production design went to Shape of Water, and that one I think is all locked up for that film as well. And so far, as following my predictions too, the only one I've gotten wrong so far from these was Outstanding British Film. I went with Darkest Hour over 3 billboards on that one. And from here on, the rest of the upsets here are really all down in these technical categories for today. Visual effects went with Blade Runner over Dunkirk, over Shape of Water, over The Last Jedi, and over War for the Planet of the Apes. Now, we'll see what happens at the Oscars. This one is going to be a tight one coming down to it because War for the Planet of the Apes has Weta and a few of the other production teams there that have historically been nominated over and over again but have never won. This would also be a win for the trilogy. And as we've seen the last time, they had a major trilogy where all the entries were nominated at the Oscars. In this case, just in visual effects, sure, but that was, of course, Lord of the Rings. Look how that ended up at the end. But that's not exactly the best comparison to make. But anyways, so I'm still betting on War for the Planet of the Apes at this point at the Oscars. Critics' Choice for visual effects went with War for the Planet of the Apes. So yeah, I'll keep that one for now. Costume design, we got this one right with Phantom Thread. I think that one's done. Makeup went with Darkest Hour. That one's done. Editing, this was a surprise. They went with Baby Driver over Dunkirk and over Blade Runner, over Shape of Water, and 3 Billboards was the last nominee there. And I believe at the Oscars it's these 5 minus Blade Runner. Who they put in? I forget who did they put in at the Oscars. It was I, Tonya. That's right, I, Tonya was in at the Oscars. So between these 5, though, when we look at it, though, the Ace Eddie Award, they went with Dunkirk and I, Tonya, because they mix it up between comedy and drama. And really, we've seen in not like the last 2 years, but in recent memory, they've gone with like Captain Phillips over Gravity at Ace Eddie, and then Gravity wins at the Oscars. Boyhood, they went with that at Ace Eddie, but then it was Whiplash that won at the Oscars. So, yeah, Baby Driver got beat out by I, Tonya. They're both nominated at the Oscars, but Baby Driver wins at BAFTA. Now, we'll have to see, because I think... let me look at how BAFTA has decided this, because they went with Gravity. No, they went with Rush over Gravity. That's right, so that didn't help. They went with Whiplash over... actually, Boyhood was not nominated for editing at the BAFTAs that year. Yeah, and then they did go... one case, though, that was kind of strange was they went with Hacksaw Ridge here at BAFTA last year, and of course that went on to win the Oscars, so that one was pretty accurate. So really, Rush was the last time they've been wrong here for film editing, so that's pretty good. So that one now becomes kind of a coin flip between, is it Baby Driver or is it Dunkirk? And seeing as Dunkirk has the picture nomination, it has more nominations overall. It's Lee Smith, who was historically looked over for, I don't think he was even nominated for Inception. If he was, yeah, he was nominated everywhere but the Oscars, it seems, that year for Inception. He was nominated for The Dark Knight, and he was looked over for Interstellar too, amongst a few other films here and there. He wasn't also nominated for Master and Commander, so he's historically been looked over before. And the 2 editors here on Baby Driver, their names are not familiar to me. And this is their first time at the Oscars, so I believe. Let me double check this one. Yeah, yeah, that's the only time they've been. This is the only time they've been nominated. So that's yeah. We'll see what they do. For the moment, I think the momentum is still behind Dunkirk to win. But BAFTA, yeah, like I said, except for Rush, they're not wrong in this category most of the time. Okay, it only leaves three other categories to talk about here. Best foreign language film. They went with kind of a big surprise here, The Handmaiden. Now, this one, they had Elle in this category, Loveless, The Salesman, and First They Killed My Father for the other four nominees. So I guess Elle and Salesman kind of split the vote there, and it allowed Handmaiden to sneak in and win. Okay, and then we have animated film, then went to Coco. Yep, I think that one's done. And then the Rising Star Award, and that was voted on by the public, by the way. They went with Daniel Kaluuya, which, yeah, in retrospect, Kaluuya is British, Timothée is American, so even though Timothée and Daniel were both up for Best Actor, and despite the fact that Call Me By Your Name had a Best Film nomination, and it won tonight for Screenplay, Get Out went home empty-handed. This kind of counts as a win for Get Out, since Daniel won. So yeah, in retrospect, yeah, I should have called that one way easier with him being British and Timothée being even though he's got a French sounding name or whatever, it's he's an American. So yeah, what are the big takeaways here? I guess obviously there's a couple races that are still being decided here, like we mentioned with the visual effects and the editing categories. Those are both going to be kind of coin flips going into the Oscars. Now, looking actually back to visual effects for a second, with Star Wars, The Last Jedi, when we look at it, actually in 2015, like Critics' Choice and the Visual Effects Society, and Visual Effects Society this year also went with War for the Planet of the Apes, and BAFTA too. They went with The Force Awakens that year, and it was a big upset that year was Ex Machina winning for visual effects, and really Ex Machina did not really have. Maybe they had a Visual Effects Society win for like supporting effects. Maybe I can't remember if that was how they classified it or not. I'd have to look into that. But that was a big surprise, and I think that was because you had The Revenant had a fight in there, Mad Max had a fight in there, Star Wars had a fight in there to kind of. And The Martian was also nominated too. Those were the 5 nominees, and except for The Martian, I think that one was probably in last place there. But the rest of them were all had enough votes and stuff that they were all in the mix. Now at the Oscars this year, we have War for the Planet of the Apes, we have Star Wars, we have Blade Runner, then we have Kong, and I forget who the 5th nominee is. Oh, Guardians, yeah. Now I definitely think Guardians and Kong are non-players there. Watch, one of them is going to win now. So Blade Runner is going to have, I'm sure, a good number of votes. Star Wars will probably have a number of votes because most of the Star Wars films, I think all but one of them have been nominated for visual effects in the past. I think just Revenge of the Sith missed out that year. And the rest of them have all been nominated. And then War for the Planet of the Apes. So that one, I can see maybe a situation where Blade Runner and War for the Planet of the Apes kind of split votes and then Star Wars comes up and wins. I wouldn't bet on it right now, but it does have more nominations than War for the Planet of the Apes. It has almost the same number of nominations as Blade Runner does. And Blade Runner, if you're a big activist for that film, you want to see it win, you'll definitely vote for it in cinematography too. So it could be a case where cinematography and visual effects line up. We haven't seen that happen in, oh boy, that's been a while. At the Oscars I'm talking about here. Wow. Yeah, because it wasn't La La Land last year. It didn't go to Revenant. Didn't go to Gravity was the last one. Yeah. So, but that was kind of, they were both kind of gimmies in that case. Visual effects is kind of up for grabs. Cinematography's done this year, so that's a different situation. But I think Hugo also did it. Inception did it, as I recall, because I think Wally Pfister won for that. Yeah, pretty sure. And then Avatar did it. Yeah, man. Okay, that's good. Good evidence here. I think otherwise, well, Slumdog wasn't nominated for visual effects, but if it was, maybe it would have won that too. They swept that year. What else in recent memory? There's been a lot of them in the last 10, 15 years. So yeah, that's something to consider. Visual effects and cinematography have been lining up more often than not, I think, in the last 10 years. So Okay, that's something I'll consider that one more maybe for visual effects for the Oscars for Blade Runner. I mean, it pains me to say because I think War for the Planet of the Apes is a tremendous movie, uh, and I haven't seen the new Blade Runner yet, but yeah, everybody I heard from couldn't shut up about it, so evidently it's good. Um, let's see here. Yeah, I think this, yeah, definitely solidifies the original song category, cinematography. This solidifies production design, solidifies costumes. Makeup is done, unless, yeah, again, there's always the chance for an upset, but I mean, when everybody else is agreeing, it's very, very, very rare. At the same time, look at what happened with La La Land last year. I mean, everybody agreed on that, and then kind of crapped out at the end. So, yeah, and then the four acting categories, I think those are pretty set. Again, barring any last-minute sexual harassment or sexual misconduct allegations against either Oldman or Rockwell, unless something like that happens in like the next 24 hours. I mean, it would have to be like that, like really quick. But I don't think it's gonna, I don't think that'll be the case though. Unless something like that happens, and that opens the door for somebody else like Daniel Day-Lewis or Willem Dafoe or maybe Christopher Plummer in that case for supporting, or who else could win for lead actor? Timothée, he's a possibility. All right, I think adapted is sure done with James Ivory for Call Me by Your Name. I think that one's set. Original screenplay, it's still a battle though. Because now when you look at it, Critics' Choice and WGA both went with Get Out. The Globe and now BAFTA have gone with Three Billboards. Yeah, so they're pretty split. Lady Bird, I think, is still in the hunt. Shape of Water is still in the hunt because, like I've said, picture and screenplay have been lining up here very, very much so in the last 5 years. And then before that, there's a good, running gag of that happening too. So it's been a long time otherwise since that's happened, and most of those we can explain away. But I don't know, this one it's kind of hard to explain away Three Billboards not winning because it is kind of the most dialogue, well, not the most dialogue driven, but one of the more dialogue driven films up for screenplay. It's got all the big speeches. It comes from a foreign director. And one more thing, I don't know. I saw this months ago, and I don't know why I didn't say it until now. But when you look at it historically in the screenplay categories at the Oscars, they do not go with actors turned writers. I mean, it's very, very rare. Obviously you have examples like Ben Affleck and Matt Damon for Good Will Hunting. There was one other one I was thinking of. It was a little more recent than that did it, but now I can't remember. Sofia Coppola. Yeah, Sofia Coppola is one. And that was what was it, close to 15 years ago now. Yeah, but historically, they go with their writers. They don't go with the actors turned writers. And sure, Jordan Peele has been working on the stuff for Key and Peele being a writer on that for a while. And Greta Gerwig has also been kind of co-writing some scripts with like what's his name? He does all the films with her, like Frances Ha and Mistress America. Sorry, I'm not thinking of the guy's name right now. And she's been co-writing with him for a while, sure. But let's not mistake that both Greta and Jordan are first and foremost known as actors and not as writers. So in that case, I think that opens the door for McDonough. I don't think Del Toro has enough power in him to win screenplay and director and picture. I don't see that happening. So yeah, I think that's up for Martin McDonough. But at the same time, and I kind of mentioned this, in past videos here, but when you have Lady Bird and Get Out both kind of neck and neck at each other, they kind of cancel each other out. And with the exception of Critics' Choice and the exception of WGA, we've seen that's continued to happen here. And one other explanation, of course, today at BAFTA too was that both Lady Bird and Get Out were not fully supported by BAFTA. They had some detractors over here. Yeah, so that means Lady Bird went home empty-handed tonight. If you don't count the Rising Star Award as a win for Get Out, then Get Out went home empty-handed. Phantom Thread went home empty-handed tonight. Dunkirk almost went home empty-handed. They just won Sound, which is really a consolation prize. Well, not really. I mean, obviously it's an award, but that one almost went home empty-handed, surprisingly. Film Stars Don't Die in Liverpool had a good number of nominations. That didn't win anything. I, Tonya only won for supporting actress, so that was another one that almost went home empty-handed. Paddington 2 didn't get anything. Let's see, what else here had multiple nominations that I'm thinking of that didn't pick up any? Anything else really? We kind of mentioned, yeah, Blade Runner only had, well, it had 2 awards, but that one had a good, it even got into director and stuff. Star Wars had a couple nominations that didn't win anything. Beauty and the Beast had a couple that didn't win. Did Victoria and Abdul get more than one, or did it just get makeup? I think that was the only one for that. Yeah, like that's about it. So yeah, really there was only like Get Out and Lady Bird are kind of the big losers today that are up at, and Phantom Thread, that are up for multiple Oscars in a couple weeks here. So yeah, we'll see what happens from here. But yeah, director is done. We know that's Del Toro now. I think the odds are favoring McDonough for 3 Billboards for screenplay. The odds are probably, oh god, I don't know what to do with that that visual effects category now. That one, I might just change over to Blade Runner now. I might. I just might. That's a tough call. Editing, I think that one, yeah, probably favoring Dunkirk, but Baby Driver it's like a 51-49 now. That one's really close. That one, again, it's kind of a coin flip at this point. It's, just about at least. And then Picture at the Oscars. That one is going to be strange because I'm thinking, we've been saying, it's been 4 films really that it's coming down to: 3 Billboards, Shape of Water, Lady Bird, and Get Out. Lady Bird has really been detracting here lately. It looked like at one point it was going to have a win for supporting actress, maybe a win for screenplay, but now it looks like both of those are turning, less and less possible each day. So that one will probably, at this point, looks like it's going to go home empty-handed at the Oscars. Unless Jordan Peele pulls through for screenplay, Get Out looks like that'll go home empty-handed. Unless it pulls a miracle and wins film at the Oscars, which, you look at Spotlight. That won for screenplay and picture and nothing else. And it had an acting nomination and it had a directing nomination, which happens for Get Out at the Oscars. But then Spotlight also had editing, so that kind of, helps that one a little bit more. And then obviously then you got Shape of Water, which has the most nominations. It also is looking like it's going home with director. It'll take at least 2 technical prizes. I'm trying to think, when was the last time we had a film win 3 Oscars, including director, and lose Best Picture, or something in that number? The Revenant, it had director, it had actor, and it had cinematography. That was it, wasn't it? Yeah, I think it was. Let me go back. Double check that one. Pretty sure. God, what else would it have won? Cinematography, actor, director. And that was it. Okay, so yeah, maybe The Shape of Water is kind of like this year's Revenant, where it gets the most nominations, goes home with 3 Oscars, but loses picture. And as I've kind of been saying here, the underdog has kind of been winning picture here the last few years. Like Moonlight was definitely the underdog to La La Land. Spotlight, by the end, was the underdog to The Revenant. Help me here. Birdman, in some respects, was a bit of an underdog to Boyhood, but that, by the end, maybe Birdman had a little more support. But those were pretty close. Yeah, so that's in recent memory here. I'm trying to think what else with these director picture splits recently. Didn't 12 Years a Slave? Well, that one won picture, supporting actress, and screenplay, and nothing else, I think. So yeah, sometimes it leans that way, but it was also up for director and a few other ones. So yeah, sometimes a number as small as 3 is enough, and obviously Moonlight had 3 last year. Yeah, but like I said, Spotlight had 2. See, really, you only need screenplay and picture, and that might be all you get. So that's, a case for Get Out. That might be a case for Lady Bird. Might be a case, I doubt it. 3 Billboards has got the 2 acting wins. So yeah, okay. So what we're looking at here is Shape of Water, I think, at maximum can win 4. Well, okay. At maximum, it can win 5 at the Oscars. It can take screenplay, picture, director, and then the 2 tech categories with score and production design. and at the same time, it could easily lose screenplay and go home with 4. 3 billboards, I think at max is looking at 5 as well with screenplay, the 2 acting prizes, picture, and no, 4. Sorry, that's looking at 4 maximum if I can count today. Yeah, because it can't win. It's not nominated for director. I doubt it's going to win for editing. I don't think so. And it's not going to win for score. So, yeah, that at most can take home 4. Get Out, I think at max can take home 2. I don't think it wins director. Lady Bird can also, I think, max take out, well, yeah, 2. Yeah, I don't think, there's nothing left in the tank, I don't think, for Laurie Metcalf at this point. So, yeah, it looks like that's the case. All right, well, actually, well, hang on. There's one more thing I want to mention here quick, and I'm not, calling anybody out for this, but I've seen a lot of, and I'm not calling anybody out here, but I've seen a lot of people who usually comment on this and who are big journalists and prognosticators for the Academy Awards. They've been talking about how it's been such, except for picture and maybe a couple other smaller categories, how it's been such a boring year. Well, guess what? Boring and safe years like this, I like them, because then you can get more right, and I'd rather have more right than than have a totally bizarre year where you can't guess anything. Yeah, so I'm fine with the 4 acting winners that we have. I'm fine with director going to one person there. I'm fine with the screenplay categories, at least seemingly right now. At least with one of them, is guaranteed lock for Call Me by Your Name, and yeah, we'll see what happens with the other category there for original, but it's still going. I mean, we've got 2 weeks to go before the ceremony. Voting begins this Tuesday. Yeah, we'll see what happens. But BAFTA right now looks like the wind's blowing in the direction of 3 billboards. So we'll see if it continues to blow that way come 2 weeks' time.